who gets to tell America's story? And that question really matters, especially as the United States marks its 250th anniversary today. And when it comes down to it, a national anniversary is not just a party; it's an act of public memory. It it is a way a country can look backward and say, this is who we were. And it's also a way a country looks forward and says, this is who we still hope to become. And that's why the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence is not just about, fireworks and parades and speeches and patriotic music and whatnot. It's, those things all, of course, have their place. But a national commemoration also asks a deeper civics question. What should we celebrate? What should we remember? What should we admit? What should we teach? What stories are going to be included? What stories are pushed aside? And then who gets to decide? In 2025, President Donald Trump signed an executive order creating a White House task force to help plan the celebration of America's 250th birthday. And the White House has promoted its own Freedom 250 effort with events meant and projects meant to celebrate American history and patriotism and national greatness. And at the same time, there was already a congressionally created America 250 effort, which was established years ago, a decade ago, to help coordinate the semi-quincentennial. Now, that overlap has created an amount of debate. And supporters of the White House effort see a chance to celebrate the United States proudly and energetically. And they argue that a country that should be able to honor its founding and its achievements, its military service, its heroes, its symbols, and its ideals without apology. And that is a real point. A republic needs shared civic memory. It needs citizens to understand the Declaration of Independence, the Revolution, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and sacrifices made by people who built and defended, challenged, and also improved the country. But critics have raised concerns that a national birthday can become too closely tied to one president, one party, one political movement, or just one version of history. And that concern is also real. A national anniversary should not become personal branding. It should not become campaign material. It should not treat patriotism as if it belongs only to one side. And it shouldn't turn history into just a slogan. This is not the first time Americans have argued about how to remember themselves. During the 1976 bicentennial, the country was coming out of Vietnam and Watergate, and there was deep distrust in government. There were also concerns that the celebration could become too commercial or too political or just too top down, right? And eventually, much of the bicentennial became local and community-based. You had towns and schools and museums and churches and historical societies, civic groups, local governments, all marked the anniversary in their own ways. Now, that's a really important historical lesson, because sometimes national memory works best when it's not controlled only from the top. A country as large and diverse as the U.S. Can't be honestly represented by one speech or one monument or one parade or just one political message, because America's story is just too big for that. It includes the ideals of the Declaration of Independence. It includes the creation of a constitutional republic. It includes expansion and invention and reform and immigration and military service and democratic participation. But it also includes slavery, dispossession, exclusion, civil war, segregation, broken promises, and then just struggles over who actually received the liberty that the country claimed to believe in. A mature degree of patriotism should be able to hold on to both truths. America has founding ideals that are worth honoring, and America has often failed to live up to those ideals. And those two statements just don't act to cancel each other out. That's not a positive and a negative in a math sense. Those two statements, well, in fact, they explain a whole lot of American history. The Declaration said that all people are created equal, and the country did not fully live that way in 1776, right? Why would I uncover, such, uncomfortable truths, right? But those words became a standard for later generations that they used them to challenge slavery and segregation and discrimination and unequal citizenship. And this is why honest history is important, why it matters. Because if we only celebrate the 4th, right? If we only celebrate that, we run the real risk of turning the past into mythology. If we only condemn, though, we risk missing why the ideals mattered in the first place. So a republic needs something better than both. And what it needs is honest patriotism. Honest patriotism, it doesn't require pretending the country is perfect. It also doesn't require denying the country that the country has achieved remarkable things. It will ask citizens to love their country seriously enough to tell the truth about it. And I really think that's what makes the 250th anniversary a real civic opportunity. It can be more than just a national birthday. It can be a chance to ask what independence meant in 1776, what it failed to mean for many people at the same time, and what self-government requires from us right now. It can be a chance to teach the Revolution, the Constitution, slavery, Reconstruction, immigration, women's suffrage, labor movement, civil rights, military service, local history, and this ongoing argument over liberty and equality. So it can be a chance for Americans to remember that the country has always been unfinished. We are, working towards that more perfect union, right? The preamble doesn't guarantee a perfect union. We work towards a more perfect than what existed in the past. So, who gets to tell America's story? In a republic, the answer should not be only the president, and it should not be only the Congress, and it should not be only one political party or one movement or one historian or one textbook or just one generation. The story belongs to the people, but it also means that the people have a responsibility to tell it honestly. And so the real civic question is not whether America should celebrate its 250th anniversary, because boy, it should. And for some folks, it's been really tough. But the real question comes down to whether we can celebrate with enough honesty and humility and historical memory to make the celebration worthy of a republic. And I really think that's why this 250th anniversary really matters. And today, I thought that was just another civics question that was really just kind of worth asking. Thanks again for taking the time, and I hope you've had a happy Independence Day.